Hello, Internet. Welcome back to more of our Apartment Rat series. Once again, I'm doing a voiceover. This time I want to focus in a little bit more on the content. I think I got a little bit distracted by my own commentary in the last episode. Didn't really narrate what was going on. This time I'm going to try to pay a little bit more attention to what we're doing because I think that you're here for gameplay and for commentary. So I'm going to give that. I have no idea what we're doing in the game. I think this is another episode where we mostly train. I think maybe we go out and look for vehicles at one point. But it's pretty boring overall, content-wise. So, going to work on the commentary again, I think. In the last episode, I told you a little bit about my incarceration. I also mentioned, so I did want to clarify, in the last episode I mentioned that my friend who's kind of with his girlfriend, and he said the only reason is because she has great breasts. I wanted to clarify that inherently is not predatory behavior. When I referenced him as a predator, I actually meant that he has basically said that he has no interest in actually being with her. He's just with her because of her physical appearance. And I find that pretty despicable because I know she's a really nice girl who has pretty strong feelings for him. And for him to be so dismissive but still sleep with her because he thinks she has great breasts, pretty messed up. Because, again, I think she's a really nice, really sweet girl. I mean, she does have a very nice body, but mostly she is smart and fun. And maybe I'm biased because I kind of like her. She's real nice and smart and funny and hits a lot of the things that I would look for in my own kind of girlfriend. So we're out and about. We're taking a peek at some of these vehicles. Got some zombie density here. I was looking for, I think at the moment, just any vehicle that runs, preferably one of the more armored vehicles that we found. I wasn't super concerned with that. I just needed a foundational vehicle, something that we could drive back to base, that we could repair and put in the kind of condition where, we could add the recharging station to it. We could set it up with a vehicle welder, solar panels, and batteries so that we would have kind of a rechargeable fuel source for our tools and things, and to set up a bed in the back. I wanted something that was wide enough that we could throw boards on it, put a bed in the back, and then we could sleep in that as we traveled around looking for labs and things. So right now, just looking for really any vehicle that runs. I do think we find one, but then we find a much better option towards the end of the episode that doesn't actually run, but we want to repair that vehicle instead. Here we're looking at a APC or an armored vehicle. I have no real interest in the vehicles that have the mounted machine guns. They don't really do anything for me. I know people really like having turrets and things. I've never really gotten an automated turret, and I don't see any reason for me to mount a gun turret on my vehicle. Of course, this vehicle comes with spiked plating and things like that we would want, but it is ultimately a diesel, so we continue looking around. She's just a nice girl. I don't feel that he should... look, if you're in if you find someone and you're both upfront and aware that you just want to sleep together, or you just want to be, whatever you're... if you're both in the same position and you feel the same way about it, more power to you, right? Everybody likes... to have a person in their life. Everybody likes to have the physical connection type stuff. If that's what you're about, that's great. But when one partner is only interested in that and the other is looking for something more, looking for, a connection, a meaningful, long-term, more, non-physical relationship, I think that's pretty wrong. Especially when you know that as the other person and you choose to do it anyway. Here we found a vehicle. We're still getting those messages about the wheels running over things. That's been sorted out now. That was a bug. I think basically the vehicles... Oh, there's quite a horde there. Dangerous situation. Oh, and this is where we picked up a zombie that actually rode along with us in our vehicle. Don't know why that happened, but yeah, it was pretty interesting. Apparently the wheels were treating every tile as a trap, and so every time you would go over a tile, it would display a message about the wheels running over something. That's been sorted out. That's not a problem anymore. And so here we've secured a pretty basic vehicle. Not super excited about it, but all we were looking for was something to start throwing some higher tier, like the recharging station on. So, and if I think back, there are definitely women that I was with that I shouldn't have been with. Women that, our relationship devolved to the point where it was just physical. But I'm not that person. I'm not built that way. I couldn't, like, even the relationships I've been in, even when I've been less than a good boyfriend, I still had a real deep emotional connection to every partner I've ever had. That's not true. There was one individual that had physical relations with that I had no real connection to. It's the only time in my life really where I've had a one night stand. I think I was 18, maybe even 17, and she was like 26. And if I'm being honest, she was a little predatory. She was a friend of mine. I had Xbox friends. She lived in, well, it doesn't matter. She lived like a state away from me. Then she started contacting me online, and like every day she would send me pictures, and she'd be like, what do you think of this? And she would send me a picture of her breasts, and I'd be like, you're dating my friend. This is weird. And then it just got progressively more intense every day, sending me pictures, every day asking me for pictures. And after a while, it was like, at that point, I'd only been with one person in my life. And I was like, whatever. I don't care about myself very much. The relationship was kind of falling apart at that point. If she wants to sleep with me, okay. And then we did, and I regretted it. And she was like super demanding. Like, she showed up, and I was like, I don't know if I actually want to do this. And she was like, bitch, I drove all the way here. We're gonna do this. I'm we're gonna do. Anyway, we're not gonna talk about that. It was an unpleasant experience, and the only one night stand I've ever had, and also one of the only times I really cheated on someone, and just should not have done that. I have a real problem with cheaters. I hate that I've been that person in my life. I would not do that at this point in my life, but back then, wasn't living a great life. Felt bad about myself all the time, and I found that, being physical with someone made me feel like they accepted me for me, because they, trust you enough to let you in that position and things. So, whatever. We're not going to talk about that. That's a little on the negative side. So here we're gathering wood. I talked about this in the experimental Cataclysm series about how wood consumption is much higher than usual. I have made a issue on GitHub, so they do know that this is a problem. Again, connected to the 1 second turn times. We're going through wood extremely quickly. So here I went out to get a big old batch, and I think it took forever, if I remember, to kind of haul everything back. In fact, I think I messed up and sorted everything onto the same pile by mistake. Yep. So, yeah, that particular friend who is with the girl for only physical reasons, it just rubs me the wrong way, because she seems like a real genuinely nice girl, and she's smart enough. Like, that's the thing with me, right? Is that when I meet people, the number one thing that's important to me is whether or not you kind of challenge me, particularly in a partner. If I were to date someone, you don't need to be a genius. You don't need to be on my level. Like, it sounds arrogant to say, but I'm extremely intelligent. And it's often hard for me to relate to people because I feel like, you might not be able to tell. We're on YouTube. I tend to ramble. I'm playing a game that I'm not particularly good at. And I have a little bit of the country boy voice to me and drawl in my voice. And I think that people sometimes hear me speak and they think like, oh, this guy is maybe not so sharp. But in an actual conversation where I'm one-on-one with a person, I think that you can really tell that I'm pretty intelligent. And when I end up dating someone, or even just a close friend, if they're not very smart, it really... I'm not going to say I don't like someone if they're not intelligent, but it's important to me that I'm surrounded by people that challenge me. And so that's one of the biggest criteria on whether or not someone makes it into my inner circle, or if a female makes it if I end up in a relationship with a female, I need to feel like I'm being challenged. I need to feel like we're on the same level. We can have conversations about things that are important to me. Sometimes that's existentialism. Sometimes that's religion. Sometimes it's nothing. Sometimes it's just being able to have a intelligent conversation about, something that's not very intelligent at all, a television show or a movie. But I need someone that I can feel like we're on similar levels. And this particular girl meets that, kind of criteria and is a pretty nice young lady. And so it's a little disappointing to see my friend that's like, yeah, she's nice, she's great, but no, I don't like her very much. Yeah, she seems great, but no, I don't feel any connection to her. She's just a body to me that I like enjoying her body. And that always rubs me wrong when people are like that. So it looks like we're going to continue reading the first aid book. We still don't have a dissection tool, which is a bit of an issue. We're going to get there eventually. I can't believe we didn't find an X-Acto knife this whole time we've been playing. Once we get into labs, they'll be a little bit more common. We'll be more likely to find them. I think they just spawn naturally in a lot of the map gen, but also on scientist corpses and things have a pretty decent chance to drop things like that. Because we really need, at this point, we've secured a jackhammer so we can get into the lab. We haven't really secured a way to deal with the turrets because if it's... we could wait for nightfall and then shoot them at a distance. But we don't really have any guns that... I think we look at that in the next episode. We look through our guns and kind of realize that we don't have anything that really lines up with the ammo. I was looking at 9mm, and we have the Uzi, but we don't have a mag for the Uzi, and you can't directly chamber rounds into a gun. It has to have the magazine, unfortunately. So we can't really utilize some of the ammunition that we've gathered. So ranged attacks could be a little bit of an issue. We don't want to squander too much of our double-aught shot because it's so valuable. Yep, reading first aid book. What else can we talk about? There's not much that I look for in a partner. I think I just look for mostly intelligence. And again, you don't even have to be super smart. It's more about, do we have chemistry? Can we have a lengthy conversation without, because I've met really dumb people in my life. There was a girl I worked with who was a beautiful young lady. At the time, I think I was 18 and she was younger than me. I think she was 16 in school and still in school and whatever. And she was a real pretty girl. She was very, very sweet, very nice. I knew her and her boyfriend. But she was just one of the dumbest people I've ever met. I'm not saying she's a bad person because of that. Nothing like that. It's just she was just super duper dumb. You would talk to her, and in the middle of talking to her, she would stop and be like, I don't know what that word means. Could you tell me what that word means? Or you would have to tell her how to do things multiple times before she would learn how to do them. Just a general, nice, sweet, attractive young lady, but she just was not very intelligent at all. And I remember thinking, because she broke up with her boyfriend, and people were like, oh, she'll be fine. And I was like, I don't know. I kind of feel like she's just going to go through her life relying on someone else to take care of her because she can't function very well as an individual. And because she's pretty, she'll be able to do it because people are always going to be, there are always going to be people who prioritize appearances and things like that. And I always just was like, I hope she meets a nice guy that, will value her for who she is and take care of her because I don't know how well she's going to do on her own. Maybe that's terrible. Maybe I shouldn't think like that. Again, I was young, and that was back when I was a real terrible person. So I think at this point we were looking to butcher electronics for parts, but then we ended up going out because we needed pipes, I think, to make something. I don't really remember what we're looking for in this exact moment. We picked up, looks like we're going to harvest some gasoline from the nearby area because we picked up a rubber hose and the gas can. I don't know. I feel like the number one thing I look for is the ability to hold a conversation with me. Then I look for someone who is kind of gentle and sweet. I'm not a big fan of, don't get me wrong, when I was young and I would see really sarcastic, dark, angry girls, I really liked that. But I think that was more of a knee-jerk attraction type thing. I think when it comes to actual personality, I really highly value people who are good people. And that sarcastic, angry bitterness tends to go hand in hand with not the best people in the world. I'm not saying you can't be a good person if you're sarcastic. That's ridiculous. But what I mean is, like, based on the people I've met, the angry, bitter people tend to not be very kind because they're angry and bitter. And so I think nicety is really important to me. Other than that, pretty much anybody, if you're nice and you're kind and you can have a good conversation, it's about all I want. I mean, it helps if you're attractive, but it's not really a priority to me. My first serious girlfriend, she and I, we were like 15, 16, and I met her, and we talked a lot, and it turned out she was really good to talk to. And my mentor, sort of an older guy that kind of looked after me and tried to raise me a little bit, he pulled me aside and was like, look, her parents are going through a divorce. She's in kind of a vulnerable place right now. I don't want you to like jump into a relationship with her because you could break her heart and that would really mess her up right now. And I told him, like, look, and this is me as a teenager. I was not a good person. I was like, look, man, she's overweight. She's got a big old nose. She, I don't like, she's just not that I don't find her attractive. And then she and I talked for a couple more months, pretty much constantly. We would talk every time we would meet up in real life. We would talk all the time, and her grandmother thought we were cute together. So she would just, whenever we had to leave, she would just sit around in the parking lot and let us talk for hours. And after a couple months, I started dating her. And it's like, he asked me, he was like, you told me you weren't attracted to her. What are you doing? And I was like, turns out I don't care that she's overweight, and I don't care that, this and that. I think she's great. She's really smart. She's really sweet. She seems to like me for who I am. I kind of even think she's pretty, even though all that stuff I said about how I didn't think she was pretty. And she and I went on to date for like 4.5 years, and I swear to God, to this day, she's one of the most beautiful people I've ever known. And it is like, from an abstract, from a distance perspective, I could say that she's not super physically attractive, or she wasn't back then, but that didn't mean anything to me because she grew to be, I loved her for who she was, and I grew to find her so beautiful. To this day, she's one of the most beautiful people I've ever known. So here's that vehicle that I said we would shift focus to. This is a giant flatbed truck, and the reason we're going to shift to this is because it's 3 tiles wide in the back, so we can have an aisle down the middle along with all these cargo spaces. We can replace these side quarter panels that we're looking at right now with boards to block out the light, and that can hold a bed and everything, and we'll put a tail end on it. So this is probably what we're going to be using. It's a little far away and it's not currently drivable, or it is. It looks like it's currently drivable. Has a faulty engine, though. All the controls are broken. Okay. And we don't currently possess the skills, really, to do that. And we mark that as the valuable vehicle because that's indeed true. And then we're going to shift up and check out this shooting range that we spotted a few episodes ago. Nothing super interesting here, just lots of casings. I thought maybe there was like a vending machine for ammo in here, but it's actually a gun safe. And other than that, really not much of note. That vehicle, though, is something I was very happy to find. Replacing the controls is probably going to require a higher mechanic skill or a higher electronic skill. So that's a little bit of a concern, but other than that, it's a really great find. All those cargo spaces are most of the work. Replacing the boards, the quarter panels with boards is not a big deal. Putting a bed in it is not a big deal. But harvesting and installing, a dozen cargo spaces would be a real hassle. So here we have a vehicle that already has all that for us. Yep, first girlfriend, yep. She super important to me, even to this day. She's probably the only person who ever loved me for me. I got older, I had other relationships, but that first girlfriend was really, I I mean, don't get me wrong, I lied to her about things. I wasn't the best boyfriend. I was a pretty bad person back then. But I did tell her a lot of stuff about my thoughts and feelings and my past and my life in general. And she didn't blink, you know? I honestly think she really loved me for me. And of course, we dated for years, up until, I mean, just for years and years. And I think that when we finally broke up, basically she said, I love you. And I loved her. And she said, I love you. I think you would be a really good husband. I think you would be a really good father. But I don't want to be with you right now. I want to marry you, but I don't want to be with you right now. I kind of want to go out. Like, she wanted to go out. She wanted to smoke weed. She wanted to drink, even though we were underage. She wanted to sleep with other people. And I didn't really. I kind of just wanted to settle down and to just have a relationship and get married. And she, was going. We were at that age where she was going to go to college, and she wanted to kind of be free of a partner when she got to college, so she could kind of explore and experiment. Haven't seen her in a long time. I think she's a teacher now, or she wanted to be a teacher. I don't know where she ended up. I'm not going to reach out to her. It's not really, when I think about people from my past, I think like, yeah, it would be nice to kind of see her, but there's that undefined shovel. I was getting an error about how shovels don't exist anymore. I think about people from my past, and I think like, I've done nothing in my life. I've accomplished nothing. I was incarcerated. I look terrible now, compared to what I used to look like. And I just feel like I'm so different from who I used to be that even if I reconnected with them, would they even care about me anymore? It's been so long. Did I just see in that pile? I'm going to backtrack my footage. Did I see a corpse in that pile on the ground there? Have to deal with that. Pulped zombie child corpse. Yeah, that's an issue. We're going to have to take care of that at some point. Is in the pile. You probably aren't seeing that footage, but anyway, we should probably call the episode here. I got a little morose. I didn't mean to get depressed. You think about those old relationships, and it kind of, you still have all those confusing feelings about things and whatever. Anyway, that's going to do it. Sorry if there were awkward cuts or whatever throughout the footage. For now, we're going to call the episode here. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, maybe consider liking, subscribing, or commenting. And I will be back, of course, with more Cataclysm in the near future. And I will see you in the next one.